Okay, I want Zach in for the first one here. Hey, Zach, you who? Oh, you are still alive. Your mother and I are very concerned about you, by the way. Trying to keep you off bridges these days.
Does it have anything to do with 3-hour post-game shows?
To say nothing with having to deal with the rage of Jay Rosehill after watching certain players on a certain night against a certain team on a certain broadcast in front of a certain country. But anyhow, perhaps more on that later. I wanted to ask you a question.
Yeah.
We'll play a game called Know Your Standings. And maybe you know your country. If the playoffs started today, guess how many Canadian teams are in?
I believe 3. Ottawa, Winnipeg.
That's a funny way to pronounce one. You're pronouncing 1, 3? Did I miss something? I haven't been to school for a while. 1.
I mean, I didn't look at the standings after yesterday. I thought as of Saturday night, Montreal was back. I mean, I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm just explaining my thought process here. You're obviously looking at it.
I am, indeed.
1.
Do you know who that team is?
Winnipeg, right?
Nope. Winnipeg's in a tough way right now, bud.
Wow. I'm
Ottawa.
just looking at this right now.
Ottawa Senators.
The Senators.
Canada's hope right now. Edmonton, Winnipeg, Should I mention the Maple Leafs?
No, don't. You don't have to do that.
Okay, well, mention the Maple Leafs. Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, 1. The Ottawa Senators.
Wow.
If it started today. The only reason we bring up things like this week specifically is because the cut line is usually drawn on U.S. Thanksgiving. It just becomes that much more tougher. Although this year, I will throw in the caveat, though, that everything, especially in the East, is really, really tight. Like, all of a sudden now, the Buffalo Sabres are kind of looking not great, but maybe if you squint really hard and they get lucky and get a save and get some timely goals, and maybe Bill Guerin can be in attendance at every Buffalo Sabres game to look at Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck so the Sabres can perform the way that they did yesterday, you can kind of make the argument that maybe Buffalo has a chance. Dare we say it? But 1, Zach. 1 Canadian.
So Montreal is tied with Philadelphia in points. That was where the confusion was for me on that one. They're
Philly's
in
played
the wild
one
card, but the
one less
points
game.
percentage. Yes.
Philly's played
but
less
I was
games
looking
than the Montreal Canadiens. I get it. That's all right.
Yeah. Not a math guy. That's why I played hockey and do that kind of stuff. Creative.
Drop your pants to count to 21. I get it. You're a hockey player.
I never heard that one.
Just let that one sink in, everybody.
Yeah, hold that one. Okay, I like that.
Oh, 1, 2, 3. Oh, jeez, Marek, come on. Thanks for joining us here today. Anything, while I have you on, before we get to the blueprint, anything jump out? I mean, non-Leaf related, because that's a weighted conversation. But like a few things jumped out at the weekend for me. Colorado continues to excel. Oh, actually, you know what? I was mentioning this to Gregor last night. One thing I want to bounce off you is having a conversation with someone who's been around like forever, around various NHL teams and players, who brought up a really interesting point, which is, and we're not talking about like the Hart Trophy. Okay, so bracket the Hart Trophy in this statement. And just think about like the most valuable player to his team. Right now, we're all, and rightfully so, going nuts over what Colorado was doing. And yeah, they had the soft first period last night against Chicago, but like that second period when Colorado turned it on, shots are 19-1, tilt the rink, all of it. They look like the best team in the universe. It's phenomenal. And we're all going crazy about it. And this person, I've known for a long time, I got a lot of respect for, says, you know who the MVP is? I said, who? He goes, Gabe Landeskog. And I said, well, listen, he's my favorite player. So, of course, I'm going to go, yeah, right on, man. But, like, even I can't go, like, he's not playing better than Cale Makar. He's not playing better than Nathan McKinnon. And I said, no. He said, no. He's not talking about what they're doing on the ice. But he said as far as, like, making a lot of this possible, and this isn't a shot against Nathan McKinnon, but, like, he runs hot. And that's what makes it work for him. And without Gabe Landeskog, it can be at times tough for players in that dressing room, in that locker room, when there's someone that's like that tightly wound all the time. Like Nate needs that in order for him to succeed. He said the presence of, he said, it's no surprise that Landeskog has come back to that room and all of a sudden everybody feels better about themselves. that, like the last time we saw Landeskog, he was winning the Stanley Cup. Colorado kind of dipped a little bit there for a couple of years. Gabe Landeskog is back now, and all of a sudden we're talking about the Colorado Avalanche as if they're the best team in the world, and who's going to beat them, and they're going to win the Stanley Cup this year. And he said it's not hard trophy stuff because he's not at the same level as Makar and McKinnon, but you can make the point that what's making this work with the Avalanche right now is the presence of Gabriel Landeskog, one of, if not the best leader, attention Sidney Crosby, in the entire NHL. I thought a lot about that over the weekend. Does that make sense to you as a former hockey player, Zach Phillips? Not that Zach Phillips, but the other Zach Phillips?
Not the one that I've been tweeted at about like 14 times this weekend, because the guys at The Athletic also put out an article about the worst trades for each team, and that was listed. And I'm like getting tweet tagged, being like, "Oh, I didn't know this." I'm like, no, wrong guy.
Yeah. Wrong
Anyways. Yeah, 100% it makes sense. It's kind of one of those things that I think we saw life injected into them in the playoffs last year, where it's not the way he plays on the ice, but it's like the presence in the room.
He's here.
And now you're getting the full off-season, preseason, regular season effect of it, where it can like actually be implemented. And I know the kickback is like, well, he was around the team previously. It's different when he's going to war with the guys.
When you're going on the ice, it's different.
When he's there in the battle with you, and not just like, not because he doesn't want to, but like standing behind the lines being like, go get him. Like it's like way different being like, I'm going to go in there and throw rocks with you guys. It's a very uplifting thing. And I think that kind of changes the mentality of that team going into each game, where it's like, we have our warrior with us. I like having that guy alongside. Also, to your point, it's kind of like, in a weird way, also a guy who can run hot, but like the cooling heads effect, where like McKinnon might be like throwing a helmet at a guy, and then Landeskog's like, it's all right.
Well,
like,
you have to understand well, you see, Your Honor, like what my client is trying to say is, you just kind of do that. Well, what Gabe is trying to, what Nate is trying to get at here, like listen to your buddy Gabe, like this is what's going on. But no, it just feels like everybody is really comfortable being themselves on that team, and it's no coincidence that is the return of Gabriel Landeskog to the Colorado Avalanche. Now, again, I will admit my bias. He is my favorite player and has been for a number of years in the NHL. But that one really resonated with me and made a lot of sense. Okay, so to today's show, and we have a packed one for you. The Blueprint is powered by FanDuel. Download the app today and play your game on FanDuel. Looking forward to a couple of big interviews we have coming up here in a couple of moments. In a few seconds, we will be joined by Milan Lucic, 17 seasons in the NHL. He is trying a comeback now, as we all know, in the St. Louis Blues organization with Springfield. We'll talk about the comeback. We'll talk about the last couple of years in his life, and we'll talk about essentially where he's at mentally, where he's at physically, and how things are going and his return to pro hockey. Spencer Hyman of the Hyman family, who own the Brantford Bulldogs of the OHL, pulling off a massive trade today. Philadelphia Flyers first-round draft pick Jet Luchanko goes from the Guelph Storm, who are hosting the Memorial Cup next season, goes to the Brantford Bulldogs, and now essentially Brantford is more of a traveling all-star team than they even were before. We'll talk to Spencer Hyman, Zach Hyman's brother. He's the general manager and one of the owners of the Brantford Bulldogs. We'll talk about the nature of the Luchanko deal, which I think actually goes back to last year's OHL trade deadline, and everything else Bulldog as it relates to Spencer Hyman. We'll get into the Rantanen suspension as well. That was an automatic, by the way, and I don't expect anything supplemental now for Rantanen. There very much was the feeling that the calls on the ice, obviously for Romanov and then with Coronado on Saturday, were sufficient, but the two misconducts within 41 consecutive games kicks in, and it's an automatic one-gamer for Mikko Rantanen. Also coming off the weekend, Winnipeg Jets, as I mentioned, there's only one Canadian team currently in a playoff position, and that is the Ottawa Senators. Winnipeg is out as of this moment. The Minnesota Wild, for the first time in 9 games or 10 games? I think it might be 10. Actually beat the Winnipeg Jets. The Minnesota Wild right now are on an absolute heater. The goalies, like for the two goaltenders, And Jesper Wallstedt with another great performance. 3 shutouts in 4 games for the tandem. But right now, the pucks look as big as flying saucers for these 2 goaltenders. And the line of Joel Erikssonek, Matt Boldy, who's been fantastic, and Marcus Johansson. I'm going to come shy of calling them the best line in the NHL, but man, you can make a case for it. The Minnesota Wild right now are basically untouchable and leaving teams in the dust. And the other thing about Minnesota, I've mentioned this previous, there may not be, although Vegas is right there over the last 10 years, there may not be another team outside of perhaps Vegas that makes better games with multiple opponents than the Minnesota Wild. Now, the caveat is Vegas, because they have great games, or have the ability to have great games with different styles of teams, perhaps more so than anybody in the NHL, but I'll put Minnesota there right along with the Vegas Golden Knights. That team is a lot of fun to watch. That team is highly skilled. I'm glad to see it really come together right now, specifically for the goaltending, which was a massive question mark going into the season, specifically with Jesper Wallstedt, who did not exactly have the best year last year in the American Hockey League. So happy for him, happy for John Hines, happy for those players, happy for management, ownership, fans, all of it with the Minnesota Wild. So, and if you're wondering why so much of the conversation revolves around the Western Conference right now, is like, it seems like all the great things in hockey right now are happening in the Western Conference. We just mentioned the Minnesota Wild. Previously, we talked about the Colorado Avalanche. A quick little glance here at, let me just grab this quickly, the top scorers around the NHL and what they all have in common. Let's go through it. Nathan MacKinnon, Macklin Celebrini, Connor McDavid, Connor Bedard, William Nylander, Jack Eichel, Leo Carlsson, Kel McCarr, David Pastrnak, and Mark Scheifele. 8 of the 10 in the Western Conference. And there are, as much as in the Eastern Conference, you can make the argument, there's a collection of really good teams, and we see a lot of movement in interdivisional. When you have a look at the Western Conference is where you get like capital T teams, and that is led by the Colorado Avalanche. The Dallas Stars have found their way. They look awesome. I just mentioned the Minnesota Wild, even though I don't know the Anaheim Ducks have quite the staying power to stay on top of the Pacific Division. Right now, they're looking like a juggernaut. I know a really bad giveaway by Mitch Marner, that game on Saturday to Cutter Gauthier, who makes no mistake. Anaheim finds themselves on top. The Seattle Kraken, again, I'm not sure whether this is legit, this is a mirage, this is fool's gold, what this is. But the Seattle Kraken are in there at number 2 in the Pacific, and the always dangerous, although right now kind of mid, Vegas Golden Knights are in 3rd. Utah is on the horizon, and that's a team on the come. Don't be surprised if, and we talked to Drew Amenda about this last week and kind of said, like, is there a chance maybe this will happen? Don't look now, but like the San Jose Sharks are just below the cut line, and Yaroslav Askarov has been nothing short of phenomenal. And as much as, let me just grab a quick list here, as much as we talk about all the young kids, I just mentioned Cutter Gauthier a second ago, and we talk about Macklin Celebrini and Connor Bedard, just a moment of respect for some of the young goaltenders. And again, the one thing these goalies all have in common is they play in the Western Conference. Yaroslav Askarov in the month of November has like a 952 or a 953 save percentage. Lucas Dostal, we're looking at now with Anaheim and saying how many Vezinas does this guy have in him? Spencer Knight, it is a 920 or 922 save percentage. Just mentioned Jesper Wallstedt with another shutout. He's in and around 926, 927 as far as save percentages go. So amazing things right now happening in the Western Conference. And so this is sort of a message to everybody in the that watches in the Eastern Conference. You might want to stay up a little bit later, because right now the better teams, and you can make the argument the better players, exist in the Western conference, and the evidence is before us each and every night. Okay, this segment is a presentation of Prime Monday Night Hockey. Prime Monday Night Hockey streams all national regular season Monday night NHL games on Prime Video in Canada and is available free to Prime members in Canada. Stream Prime Monday Night Hockey exclusively on Prime Video and experience thrilling goals and dramatic plays from the NHL. Monday nights are hockey nights. Don't miss a moment of the action. Tonight, the Ottawa Senators. Did I mention it's the only Canadian team in the playoffs right now? They're on the West Coast to take on the Kings. Puck drops at 9 p.m. Eastern. Check out the link in our description for the Prime Monday Night Hockey schedule on Prime Video, or go to primevideo.com/NHL. Also on Prime Video, Faceoff, Inside the NHL, Season 2. Subscribe with a 30-day free trial to Prime Video to watch Monday Night Hockey and the new season of Faceoff. Download the app or go to primevideo.com. With that, we'll bring aboard our first guest. He is a veteran of 17 seasons in the NHL, currently on a PTO, playing with AHL Springfield, making a comeback. He is Milan Lucic, and he joins me on the show now. Milan, thanks so much for stopping by today. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I guess that really should be the first question. How are you doing physically? How are you doing mentally? I mean, the two can go hand to hand. How are both sides of you doing right now?
Like you said, those are two different things. But
yeah,
physically, I'm doing all right. I mean, I had an unfortunate, pretty big injury in the exhibition season. I ended up having a grade 3 adductor tear, so that set me back. And I actually played the last 3 preseason games, battling through it because of the situation, what I was in. I wanted to give the Blues something to evaluate. So physically, I'm finally feeling good again. Mentally, I'm just doing what I can to, stay positive, stay motivated. It's been fun being around these guys here in Springfield. So, doing what I can to stay positive for sure.
I want to get to the mental side a little bit more because, look, we're all works in progress. I've said this from day one. None of us are finished products by any stretch of the imagination. But the nature of your injury, those are the skating muscles. I don't know if you ever had anything similar to that earlier in your career, but what was recovery from that like for you? What did you have to go through?
Well, it's tough because touching on the mental side of things, I don't think a lot of people realize how it affects you when you are injured. You're on a different time schedule. You're on your own schedule. You're kind of not with the group. You're on your own. I've never had this injury before, thankfully, which is odd for hockey players. At some point, some guys usually get a growing strain or tear or something. But fortunately for me, I've never had this experience before. And, when you're dealing with a big time lower body injury, it's tough because you can't go on the ice. Yeah, you gotta, the start of the rehab process, you're basically just walking. I spent a lot of time just walking in a treadmill, going for walks outside, just to keep the movement and the blood flow going. But that's really all you can do at the start. The first, I would say, 2 weeks. And like I said, it gets a little mentally taxing because you're used to your body being your moneymaker and being able to do things that most people can't do. So, that it gets frustrating, but you got to just kind of, mentally just focus on what you can control on that day and just try to get, whether it's 2% better, 5% better, whatever it is, and control what you can control on that day. And then, once things start feeling better, you get on the ice. But when you first get back on the ice, you have to be cautious because you don't want to, redo it. I think that's the difference between, muscles and bones and tendons is, when you're dealing with muscles and tendons, they have a tendency if you rush them too fast or you push it hard, too early, you can re-aggravate it or re-injure it. So you're trying to be cautious, but you're also
Mm.
trying to push it. So it is mentally taxing. So yeah, but all in all, I mean, the recovery was great. They took really good care of me in St. Louis, and got me going to where I was able to get back with the team and play a few games at Springfield.
Who in St. Louis really sort of pushed for you for this opportunity with the Blues organization? It's always easier when you have someone stumping for you and in your corner. Who was that guy? Who were those guys? Who were your people?
I mean, from the get go, it was just talking to the general manager, Doug Armstrong. He was, very interested in pushing for me, and even from the coaching staff, Jim Montgomery and even Claude Julien, who's a part of the coaching staff. I would say those three guys were definitely pushing for me to, you know, um, come to the Blues on a PTO, because I had experience with all three of them in the past. So yeah, those are the guys I would say that were pushing for me.
I mentioned earlier, like nobody's a finished product, and I also have, and I learned this really early in my life, that I carry with me this belief that nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to blow it today. No one, I'm convinced that nobody wakes up and says, my decision is to blow it. As much as you can you tell us what the last couple of years have been like for you?
Yeah, it's they've a lot of ups and downs. I
Yeah.
mean, just going through a lot. Obviously, I'm in a better place today than I was even a year ago from today. Um, but like you said, you know, ev- everything is. I'm trying to word this the right way.
Take your
It's
time. Take your time. Take your time. Take your
yeah,
time.
it's you know, nothing is ever perfect, and people deal with struggles, and people are struggling every day, and I think a lot of people suffer in silence as well. And I think I grew up in a way where you don't show weakness. You're tough, right? You don't ask for help. You you deal with it internally, and eventually it just piles up and piles up and piles up. And to your point, and I agree with you that nobody wakes up and says, "I'm gonna, just blow it all up today." And for me, I think there were a lot of things that I didn't deal with properly in the past. I mean, a big one, and I've talked about this before, was my dad's death. Who he 10 years ago, he decided to take his own life, and it was one of those things that I didn't grieve properly. And then a lot of different things started happening, and I just didn't deal with my issues the right way. And eventually, it just, like I said, it just came to a point of where my life was unmanageable anymore. And I knew I had to make changes, and I did over the last 2 years, with a lot of support. Especially, I would say one of my biggest support has been my partner, my wife. And she's helped me and had my back, and been a huge support for me through all this. And her and the kids are a big reason why I've been making strides in the right direction. And so still things aren't perfect. I
Hmm.
mean, there's no, to add to your point with what you said. So everything's always a work in progress. It's
Yeah.
one of the quotes that we like to use is progress, not perfection, because there is no finish line as far as self-care, self-worth, getting better, recovery, whatever program people run in their daily lives. There is no finish line to it, until the end. And so just finding tools and ways to manage myself, and loving myself, so I can have good relationships and love others has been a big part of the last few years.
I'll tell you something about my past. When I was 16 years old, here we are in November, where NHL Fights Cancer Month is very much front and center for a lot of people. I lost my mom when I was 16 years old, and I didn't deal with it very well at all, and it carried well into my 20s and 30s. And my two passengers I carried everywhere were drugs and alcohol. And that was two of the more miserable choices I ever made in my life, but I didn't have anything else around me. And those were all the decisions I made were fueled by that. And it all stemmed from that one event. And I carried it, and I probably still do carry it to this single day. And I've thought about you, Milan, when I hear you talk about, your father, and I can't imagine what that feels like. But that's another like dark passenger that you carry, and you're gonna carry for a long time. I don't know how. I mean, passing away from cancer is bad enough. I don't know what type of tools I would need to go through what you went through with your father. Do you still carry that?
I do. I definitely do. Um, yeah, that's why, I said before, you know, people, you don't really know what's going on in other people's lives, because I think a lot of people suffer in silence, and I know I did, and sometimes an event like that, you just shared your experience with your mother, and even for me, um, you know, I had a really hard time getting vulnerable with people, and and I turned to um, mainly alcohol, to mask what I was feeling, because instead of, because I built walls, I started to not be vulnerable, and I would never really express how I would feel, and also there's a fine line to that. It's
Sure.
you don't express to everyone what you're feeling, and it's not
It's
like now
true.
you need to be vulnerable to every single person, but
Yeah.
it's good to have people in your corner, whether it's 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, people
Yeah.
that you truly trust, you know um that you can be fully vulnerable with, and that truly want to help you. And for me, that's something, that I struggle with, and led me down a path of masking my problems more and more, just because of a big event like that. And not only that, like, I I was struggling. I had that event, and then I started to struggle with my play.
Mm.
Um, you know, and so
It
that
compounds. I
that
get you.
was
It compounds.
it
It's like one on top
yeah,
of the other, and then it's just like a layer, and then eventually,
right. And it's like I said, it became unmanageable, and from the outside, a lot of people look, it's NHL player, he makes a ton of money,
yeah.
gets to live this lavish lifestyle and whatnot. So how could somebody like that have any problems when, I think most guys deal with a lot of real life problems, like everyone else does in their regular days. But I think an important thing is like I talked about, is, you know having support and being vulnerable. I don't know if you talked about this, but when when Eddie Olczyk spoke about Hockey Fights Cancer, and when he
Yep.
first started going through it, he he felt like he was a burden on people, but because people were trying to help him. And it wasn't till he started letting helping people help him, it helped him in his recovery. And it also, when you allow people to help you, it helps them too, because they're being of service, and it helps them with whatever, they're going through, and, to help somebody else. And so, if someone's truly trying to help you, then, that's a good sign let someone in and be vulnerable with that person and not build those walls like I did, and also, search for answers at the bottom of a bottle, or mask your problems by trying to escape with that dopamine hit. So, it's a powerful thing to be able to have support and people to rely on, but also you learn that, you can be, in a right place to help someone else too. And that's a big part of, recovery and dealing with your problems as well.
I do want to ask you about hockey here. I just have one more question sort of along this vein about you. What do you want? And the answer might be, I don't care. And that's legit. But what do you want people to know about Milan Lucic? You can say I don't care, and it would be a legitimate answer. You answer only to the immediacy of your family around you.
Yeah, I mean, what do I mean, it's funny because, I talked about a little bit about, being an NHL player, and, it's a great game. I love playing the game. I gave my life to the game. Um, and but that's just a part of who I am. That's not that's not, it's almost like a character, right? Because the person that I am on
It's
the
true.
ice, and
Yeah.
and and how I go about my business, and trying to help my team achieve a goal, and win hockey games, is not who I am,
Mm-hmm.
as a person. And so I guess that's really the only thing. All the other stuff is, I've is I've always tried to be a good teammate, a good friend, good family member, and that's really it.
Okay, let me ask you about hockey here. So next steps, next week, what's the plan? Next game, next skate. Like walk us through, if you can, sort of how far ahead are you looking, or is it just I'm just looking forward to the next time I'm on the sheet?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's hard for me to say. I'm just looking forward to the next time I'm on the sheet, because
Yeah,
that's where I'm trying to keep my mind at. You
yeah,
know, just worry about today. Just worry about today. Just worry about
yeah.
the next. Worry about the next practice. But um, because at the end of the day, the goal is to be playing in the NHL, right? Um, and I'm in a position where I can only control what I can control, and it goes back to what I just talked about. I can only can control what I can do on the ice today, and then see if there's an opportunity with the Blues. If not, maybe an opportunity with another team. But then again, those are things that I can't control. So we'll see how the next, I guess, couple days go, and
Mm-hmm.
see if I end up back, playing the game I love in the NHL more than anything.
Listen, we wish you all the success, and in wherever this ends up leading. It's pretty obvious that your head is in a really good place. I love the sweater. I think we all do. Looking at that, like you talk about, like you know what, like I'm a hockey player, but that's just part of me. But like Dad's a lifetime role, and listen, it sounds very much like you're in a really good spot. Thanks so much for joining me here today. Continued success and best of luck wherever this heads.
All right, thank you. Have a great day.
There he is, Milan Lucic of AHL Springfield, currently on a PTO. Um, well, that went in a lot of different directions there. I want to go back and watch it and listen to what he had to say. But I can, and the story of his father taking his own life is one that hopefully not everybody can relate to, but can sympathize with, and bring with that the understanding that sometimes all of our choices are not our own, despite the fact that we are all responsible for our choices. I'll have more to say on that interview and some of those comments from Lucic after I go back and listen to it. I respect you too enough just to give you a glimpse sort of what I thought about it until I go back and watch it and listen to it again. But we thank Milan Lucic for stopping by the program today. Okay, this next segment is a presentation of Bauer and the Bauer Pulse, the first Bauer stick to feature their latest kick point innovation. Powered by 2 distinct energy zones in the shaft, the stick is designed to adapt to your game with the loadability and precision of a mid-kick and the explosive, unexpected release of a low kick. Catch goaltenders by surprise with a quick shot they'll never see coming, or make dynamic plays in the zone that will have defenders scrambling. Combine all of that with a new raised grip ink on the shaft, and Pulse will stay in your hands while you put the game in your hands. Exclusive to Bauer Hockey, the Pulse contains ultra-lightweight and rigid boron fiber material, which creates a high strength-to-weight ratio and optimizes energy storage. It also increases reactivity. Featured on 40 Flex sticks and above. For more information, check out Bauer.com. With that, we'll bring aboard one of the owners of the Brantford Bulldogs of the OHL, the general manager of said franchise, who pulled off another whopper today, bringing in Philadelphia Flyers first-round draft pick, Jet Luchanko. Spencer Hyman joins me. Spencer, first of all, congratulations on bringing in Jet Luchanko to this team that was kind of already a traveling all-star team, and now just looks like an absolute wagon. How far back did this one go? Because I'll be honest with you, I heard rumors and reports and whispers about this even going back to like last year's OHL trade deadline. And congratulations on the deal, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Great to see you. We purchased the team last year in January. Kind of before the deal, it was right around the trade deadline, and our GM at the time, then Matt Turk, was I know working on trying to get this deal done, and for whatever reason, it didn't work out at the time, and we've wanted to acquire Jet for a long time, and touch base in the summer, and and then obviously wasn't sure if he was going to be back in our league or not, and when he did come back and both got the bid, it felt like it was time to touch base again, and we're grateful that we were able to work something out.
I'm not going to ask you the obvious question, which is why were you attracted to Jet Luchanko? I mean, that's pretty obvious for anyone who's seen him play. I'm always wondering about sort of touch points and who knows who and who's like. I can't help but looking at this one and saying Philadelphia Flyers, Danny Briere, Jay McKee, like a lot of it sort of goes hand to glove here. Is that an accurate way to look at? I know you always wanted the player, but I mean, the relationships are already there. I have a hard time believing that Danny Briere wouldn't be looking at this going, you know what, that's a good deal for our prospect.
You know what, I think it's coincidence. Jay and Danny are obviously very close, but Guelph's got an amazing staff there as well, and great development program. So I think the Flyers were probably comfortable with him being in either organization. For us, I think the biggest thing is, we feel like we have a team that's positioned, this year to hopefully go on a good run. And, with that, I think it's very important for a young player that's, on the cusp of getting into the NHL to learn how to win. And, so from, when I spoke to Jet this morning, my perspective is he's coming to play for the best coach in the CHL, and Jay McKee, coach that I've said multiple times is an NHL coach coaching at the CHL level, and we're very fortunate that Jay's our head coach. And he's going to come here, develop, and hopefully learn how to win. That's our goal. We want to go on a long run here, and a big reason to make the move now and to bring Jet in, obviously before World Juniors, is for him to get familiar with our club, with our players, with how we do things, and knowing that when he does get back from there, if he's on the team, and that he's comfortable already right when he walks through the door.
A couple of things. Oh, by the way, you mentioned the World Juniors. How many players are you going to lose to the World Junior Championships? Like that like December, early January piece is going to be a little bit tough for the Bulldogs, no?
You know what? I think it's amazing, because at the end of the day, this whole level in junior hockey is all about development and putting players in the best position to succeed. And of course, you want to win. Everyone wants to win. I wouldn't hide that fact, but I want to see all my players have that opportunity. I think it's unbelievable. And what's great about it as well is that while I miss players at the World Juniors, I get younger prospects that are developing incredibly well in the tier 2 level. They can come up and really showcase themselves, get the experience. So next year and the years following, they're ready to come and contribute. So I think it's a win-win. If I had it my way, I'd have every one of my players in the World Juniors.
Wow.
And we're excited and grateful to see as many as we can, get that opportunity.
One player I do want to talk to as well, who's going to be a big part, and he's the captain of the CHL USA Prospects Challenge in Calgary and Lethbridge, is Caleb Malhotra. Now, for those that may not be familiar with Caleb Malhotra, he is Manny Malhotra's son. And as such, as a second-generation hockey player, he already sort of understands how all of this works. There's no awkwardness. There's no growing pains. Even just as far as like the protocol of who gets off the bus first, who checks in first, all these tiny little details that you never think about with hockey, he's already got nailed. But as the weeks and months go on here, I was just talking to Stephen Ellis about this a couple weeks ago, and he's like, I'm all in on him now. Like, I'm all in on Caleb Malhotra. Here's someone who probably started mid-second round projection and not slowly but steadily is climbing up all the prospects lists. How high do you think he can get, and what should we know about Caleb Malhotra?
I think Caleb's a special player. It's funny, we came on, or I came on with you and Pierre when Jake got drafted in the top 10, and I made the comment, hopefully I'll be here next year with Caleb, and that's how I feel. I think Caleb is not only one of the most special players in this draft, he's a special human being. He is a leader of men. He's a young kid that acts like he's a 40-year-old pro. He's special. He leads by examples in all areas of the game, and just a really good kid. It's funny because like he's so nice that before you watch him play, you're kind of like, does this kid have what it takes? Can he be aggressive? And then he goes on the ice and he's totally opposite. He's mean and he's tough, and you don't want to get into it with him at the net. So he's an amazing kid. We're so proud of him. He's earned this opportunity. I don't think he was on anyone's radar to be in this top prospect game at the start of the year, let alone the captain. And he's earned it. He's a special kid. I think his ceiling's as high as the top 5, in this year's draft, and I think he's deserving of that. He's a special player.
How much, just out of curiosity, how often would Manny Malhotra check in?
Never. Manny is one of the most humble people I've ever met. Manny is, very adamant that this is Caleb's journey, his path, his experience, and he's dad. I've got so much respect for his approach and how he does things, and the whole family. They're just really great people, first class all the way, and you really see it in Caleb. I don't know how many times I've mentioned it to both his parents. They just raised a really good young man.
Yeah. As I mentioned, this is like a traveling all-star team. It seems I know you don't want to hear it, but
it's early.
Everybody's looking at this team and going, okay, let's just get to the tournament at the end. I know you don't want to set your sights that far out, but there's a lot of hockey still to play. I get it. But at what point are you comfortable looking at this team and saying, okay, we're done. We just need to let things settle? Or do you take it right up the trade deadline and say, like, managers will always say, I'm never done. I'm always open to making the team better, et cetera, et cetera. But how do you balance because you brought in, we haven't even mentioned Ben Danford. How do you balance we want to make the team better with we need to let this settle so all these kids can play together for a long time before the playoffs? How do you balance that?
You know what? I think it's a hard thing to do in junior hockey because there's so much change every single day. Like we have the World Juniors coming up. There was U17s. I got the top prospect game this week. And then on top of that, you're going to have injuries. You're going to have players, affiliate players playing. So I think, for me, my approach is, and I know it's a little bit of a cliche answer, but we can get better every single day. I'm very uncomfortable being uncomfortable. I'm sorry, I'm very comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's a really, I think, important trait to have. It's something my dad and brother have kind of taught me. That there are going to be situations that you are going to be uncomfortable in, and you just have to be okay with that. And so, with that, my perspective is I've got an unbelievable coaching staff. I've got great leaders in our room. We take it day by day. If an opportunity comes where we, feel that we can better our team and the club, we're going to take it. Doesn't matter where we are. But in that, I don't wake up this morning or any other morning and say I got to make a move today. It's
Right.
if the timing's right, if the player's right, if the fit's right, if it culturally makes sense, and that's probably the most important one. Then I won't be afraid to jump on it because I like to be aggressive. I think it's important. I think you have to put your team in the best position to win every single year.
Do you think it's now, given the reality of the situation with Division One college and the CHL, that now more so than ever, patience isn't a luxury that managers can afford the way that they did previous? Like, if you have a shot at it, you have to go for it, because building a team for like 4 years out is going to be even more difficult than ever.
My perspective on it is that you should want to be great every single year. I don't believe in the fact of, oh, let's wait, and let next year comes, and you got to try and be good every single year. I know it's a hard thing to do. You see certain franchises that very few can do it. But I think as a manager, the perspective that I would have is you want to try and be strong every year. You want to recruit really good players, really good people. You want to draft well, and you have to have confidence in your scouting staff. I've got two of the best people in hockey, Mike Galati and Pete Goulet, that are my eyes and ears scouting in the rinks. And you have to trust the people that are around you. So for me, development is key. Drafting, developing. But when your team's positioned, like we are this year, where I've got Jake O'Brien as our captain. I've got two unbelievable goaltenders to start the year. Marek Van Acker and so on and so forth. I felt it was a responsibility for me to put those guys in a position where we were going to add around them. So from my perspective, patience is important. It's something I'm working on. Let's say that it is something that I don't have a lot of. But in saying that, I think that's a strength of mine, because I like to push, and not just be okay, here's a pick there. No, it's finding free agents. Okay, it's finding the
Yeah.
right players in the draft, the later rounds. It's developing, and I've got tremendous belief in every one of our staff members that we're gonna be able to do that.
Okay, quick two questions about Zach. First of all, did you watch his first game back from injury? And if so, did you get the sense that he thought he was still playing Florida with 11 hits in his first game back?
Yeah, I mean, there's no surprise. Like, Zach's not a normal human being. He's he's tough. He's relentless. And he was going to be back when he was ready, and he took it in stride. And so, he's a special human being, special hockey player, and he wanted to get back as fast as he could, so that his teammates, he was there for his teammates. So yeah, I watched it. Proud of him, obviously. Thrilled that he's back. We had a game at 4 and he was at 7, so it was really nice. And I'm actually looking forward to them to get back on the West Coast, so I don't miss too many.
Were you surprised? Like 11 hits. I mean, watching this game, I'm like, Hyman's going crazy. He's just hitting everything that
No,
moves.
I wasn't surprised, because if you've seen this guy in the summer, he wasn't allowed to sweat for like 2 months. So Zach's I got to work
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
I got to do
yeah.
this. So he was going a little crazy. And then you see everyone starting to get back on the ice and play. And um, I don't know if he could do my job, because he's such a warrior, and he's got to be out there helping. And maybe
Yeah.
down the line when he's retired and can't physically do it, but he I wasn't surprised. He's just a different breed.
And last one, and one final one on Zach. Like, how often would he? I mean, he's busy with the Oilers, obviously, but like, how often would you two talk about sort of what's going on with the Bulldogs?
Yeah, his number one priority is Edmonton, obviously, and winning a championship with the Oilers as a player. They've been so close. They've been to the top of the mountain twice, and I really believe they're going to get over it, hopefully this year. but we talk every single day. I don't make a move without talking to either my brother or my dad. Both of them I trust with everything in me. My dad has had the experience of running a junior hockey team since I was 4 years old. Zach was 5 years old. His knowledge for the game and specifically for this level is just such a strength that I have, knowing that I have his support and his brain, I guess you could say. And then with Zach, I've said it before. I think he's one of the brightest minds in this game. I think he's going to be a guy that when he's done playing, he jumps right into this type of role in some capacity in the NHL. And to have his knowledge, to have his perspective as a player currently still watching our team and seeing different things, what we need in his opinion, bouncing ideas off both of them, it's critical for me, and it's allowed me to be more aggressive and trust myself even further.
That's awesome. Listen, congratulations again on the Luchanko deal. We'll see what happens next with the Bulldogs. Congrats on getting the player. We'll chat soon. Thanks, Spencer.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it, bud.
There he is, Spencer Hyman, the general manager and co-owner of the Brantford Bulldogs today, pulling off the big move. It's massive, and it's interesting too. A lot of Flyers fans obviously reacting to this one in a very positive way. And I know that Spencer was kind of shy about, oh yeah, we're not a wagon, a lot of hockey to play. The team's a wagon. Zach, I'm sure you've had a glance at just how good and how loaded the Brantford Bulldogs are. Like, there's going all in, and then there's all in. Like, there's some really good teams in the OHL. Like Windsor is another, high-level team in the OHL this year. But then, like, the Bulldogs are at a different level as far as, like, we're identifying our needs, and we're getting the best possible players available. And I think Flyers fans are pretty pumped that Jet Luchanko is now off to the Bulldogs, and that is top team in the CHL, and pretty good opportunity here for them to win the J. Ross Robertson Cup and make their way to the CHL's Memorial Cup. Do you have a thought on that one, or anything from Spencer, or anything from Milan Lucic as well? Like, I don't want to comment on it until I go back and listen to it again, but anything on Lucic, anything from Spencer, anything from the day?
Well, I just thought that was very impactful from Milan, first of all. Just the conversations about what going through and speaking to people and relying on people around you and being vulnerable. But, to the point of Brantford and what Spencer and you were bringing up as well with the World Junior guys, like, I saw the trade go down earlier today, and I'm like, wait a second. And I pull up the Brantford roster, and I had the same thought, because there's also something in the works here for the sheet, and I won't leave too much or bring too much up. But I'm there's some stuff would be cool to see, and I'm like, well, that guy could play at the World Juniors. That guy, and I'm like all the way through the lineup. I'm like,
but like it's not. Yeah, look at all the different countries. Look at all the different countries. Like like this guy,
for sure.
This guy.
Yeah, and then I talked to you about it. I'm like, well, they're making all these moves early, and it's like, well, it's probably a good thing here too, because you're going to get the guys together. Yeah. And this is even just like stupid thought of me, but it's like you're going to get the guys together, you give them the extra time, maybe you build up a couple extra points, and then you lose like half your team to World Juniors.
Yes.
You fill them in. As Spencer brought up, like, it's a good opportunity for a bunch of guys to get their feet wet in the OHL, get more opportunity, get more high leverage situations, all that stuff. And it's great, but maybe you're going to sacrifice a few points. So get the guys now. Like, give them the opportunity to give you a bit of a buffer. Yeah. When you lose the whole team for a good reason, you're like in a good position. You're like, it's all right. We'll come back. We'll be fine. Do you get the same?
Did you have the same thought that I did? Like, when you look at the Bulldogs roster, do you think to yourself, I'm going to call Brian Crawford, the OHL commissioner, and ask if they're still only playing with one puck? Because, like, you look at this team, it's like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
It's
well, I was also laughing back behind the scenes when you started bringing up the traveling all-star team, and he was very quick to say, "Oh no, it's early. It's early. It's early." Okay. I'm like, okay, you know what you've done.
you know what you've done. Here. You know what you put in. We didn't even mention Ben Danford, Maple Leafs first-round draft pick. Went and grabbed him from the Ottawa Generals. Like, I It's impressive. We thank Spencer for stopping by, Spencer Hyman. I thought the point about Zach too. I didn't know he spoke every single day, but it does make sense. And his father, Stu, who's legendary around minor hockey and junior hockey circles as well. So no surprise there. Oh, by the way, anything jump out at you? I don't know how much you watched the PWHL opening weekend. Tough one for our girl Erin Ambrose and the Montreal Victoire yesterday against Boston. Tough watching Marie-Philippe Poulin take 2 minor penalties on the same shift. And sit like... And she was like crusty yesterday too. She was like nasty in that game. Anyhow, fun weekend. And if you get a chance, go. The Toronto Scepters put this up there on their social media. Did you see what they're doing for the player of the game?
No, I missed it.
It's
what was
awesome.
It? Oh, the jacket. The jacket.
The Pretty Woman jacket. So as they hand it out, they play Roy Orbison's Pretty Woman, and it's got like all the players like hometowns on it, all the picture of raccoon. It's awesome. If you get a chance, go check out what the Toronto Scepters are doing. But successful opening weekend for the PWHL, and Erin Ambrose will be along with us for the season, for the PWHL season, and leading up to the Olympics and afterwards as well. So look forward to that. In the meantime,
I got one thing to say.
Oh,
sorry, I got one thing to say.
Okay.
That barn that they played in Vancouver made me so jealous.
Yeah. I know, it's
that
great,
we don't have character like that in the NHL.
That was
I have a buddy who's playing pro overseas right now. I see all the rinks that they play in and stuff, and it's like, like atmosphere aside, just the arena makes you feel good inside. That was amazing watching that.
I know, it's a beautiful, beautiful old rink. Like I love. I love a couple of things, but one, I love seeing wooden beams at a rink. Like nothing screams like old barn, like making it look like a barn with wooden beams. So yeah, I'll take that. One day we should do a show about like our favorite things that we like about the game itself, favorite sounds, favorite sights, all those types of things. High on my list, exposed wood. Exposed wood at a rink is just Picasso to me.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Bucket list is Spengler Cup for me. Part of it is because of the arena.
Same. I know. I just natural sunlight. I want to see it too. Natural sunlight. Beautiful.
Bosses at the Nation Network, if you're listening, Spengler Cup. Jeff and I would both be interested.
We're huge Spengler Cup fans.
We'd both be interested.
Oh, me and Philly, we're massive Spengler Cup fans. Holy jeez, 100%. Yeah. Fans get all jazzed around Christmas. Send your boys to Switzerland. Let's go. All right. The sheet is powered by FanDuel. Pull some money off the tree. Send us to Switzerland. The sheet is powered by FanDuel. Play your game with FanDuel. Take your empties back almost. Send us to Switzerland. It's the NHL season, and FanDuel is your home for all the action on the ice. From Blue Line to BetSlip, we've got you covered all season with unique promos, live offerings, and features to let you play your game. Missed puck drop? No sweats. With a live same-game parlay, you can build your bets up until the final buzzer. Download FanDuel Sportsbook today and play your game. Please play responsibly. 18 plus and physically located in Ontario. If you have questions or concerns about your gambling or the gambling of someone close to you, please contact Connects Ontario at 1-866-531-2600 to speak to an advisor free of charge. Over to you, Philly.
For this one, I just want to see points go through. I want to see a win go through the uprights. So I'm changing this from the goals and all that kind of stuff where we're getting lofty. Let's just get points. I don't know if you're familiar with this. I think it was a bit on SNL maybe, but it was something that was popular around my time. If you remember the Lonely Island guys, we like sports and we don't care who knows. I'm changing it up. We like points and we don't care who knows. It's all about points tonight. We're going Sean Couturier to record 1+ point. So this is an SGP plus for those interested over on FanDuel. Couturier and Gensel in the same game. Couturier, he had coming off a game here against the Devils. He had 2 assists. Before that, he had 1 assist against the St. Louis Blues. Jake Gensel, if you're just seeing anything online, it's constantly Rangers fans being pissed off that they wouldn't trade for Jake Gensel a couple of years ago. Yep. And that's because he's on fire right now. So we're going to get Jake Gensel to get 2+ points. And then finally, Mitchell Marner, 2+ points here tonight. Comes off the gaff against the Ducks the other night in overtime.
That's a tough one. That was a tough one.
It's a tough one, but if there's one thing I know about Mitchell Marner. It is that will happen, and he will come back to find a way to erase it in the next game and say, "What gaff? What do you mean? What happens?" I had 5 points tonight, so I'm betting on Mitch to get 2+. If you parlay all these, it is plus 25, 40. $5 on this one wins you 127.
Awesome. That is great stuff. It'll be an interesting NHL universe this evening. This weekend had some really cool stuff. Tonight the NHL is back on the ice. Flyers and Bolts, as Philly just mentioned, with Sean Couturier and Jake Gensel, the Red Wings and the Devils, the Blues and the Rangers. Did our boy Johnny broadcast the Robert Thomas interview? Did he put that out on Morning Cup? Or is he going to do it tomorrow? No?
I don't
put it
think
out
he did
somewhere?
anything with it. That's just it.
Robert Thomas talking about you in the Blues dressing room? Oh, boy, Philly. Yeah, don't ask Philly to stand up and go do math at the chalkboard right now. He just watched the Robert Thomas interview. Blue Jackets and the Capitals, the Panthers and the Preds, the Golden Knights welcome the Utah Mammoth to their building, and the Ottawa Senators. Did I mention Ottawa is Canada's lone hope for the Stanley Cup playoffs this year so far? They'll face off against the Los Angeles Kings, and that is your action tonight. In the meantime, want to thank our guests for stopping by, Milan Lucic. We'll talk more about that tomorrow when we get a chance. Again, I want to go back and watch it and listen to it. That was a little bit more than just an X's and O's hockey type interview. Thanks to Milan for stopping by. Also, thanks to Spencer Hyman, the general manager of the Brantford Bulldogs, this morning pulling off the big deal of getting Jet Luchanko, Philadelphia Flyers first-round draft pick from 2 years ago, from Guelph to the Bulldogs. As that team, I can see Spencer Hyman rolling the eyes back into the back of his skull, are a traveling all-star team. They look really good, and they're playing really great.
You know what you did, Spencer. You know what you did.
You know what you did. That's right. Listen to Philly. You know what you did. You know all the players you brought in. Don't pretend that you're not an all-star team. You guys are awesome. Okay, thanks to those two gentlemen for stopping by the program today. Thanks to everybody who listened, who interacted, who downloaded, who left reviews, who subscribed, who haven't already subscribed either to this program in video form at YouTube or in audio form at your favorite podcast platform, whether that's Apple Pods, whether that's Spotify or elsewhere. We thank you for doing that. We're back tomorrow. Greg Wyshynski is aboard only one day this week because he's going to be stuffing himself on Thursday, but we got him tomorrow. So Greg Wyshynski from ESPN for MVSW Tuesday, and then Berkey returns on Wednesday as well. So full week of programming ahead on the sheet here. Don't forget Morning Cup of Hockey, 9 o'clock Eastern, DFO Live with Tyler Remchuk and Carter Hutton goes at noon. In the meantime, and in between time, Ed Whalen fans will get that one. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Jeff Marek along with you. I hope you enjoyed the program today. If you did, or maybe even if you didn't, they can't all be gems, folks. Please hit the subscribe button. Also a reminder, every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, Johnny Lazarus, Colby Cohen, I call them the Impact Players. You might know them as a tandem that makes up the Morning Cup of Hockey. Also DFO Live at noon Eastern. This year, your host Tyler Yaremchuk alongside Carter Hutton. Full day's worth of programming right here on Daily Faceoff, your favorite YouTube hockey channel. And as a reminder as well, Zach Phillips, our producer here for the sheet, said if you subscribe, he'll buy you a puppy.